Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata, greatest living draftsman, and I've got a new course out, Design Fundamentals. It's meant to help you understand design on a comprehensive and principled level and show you how to run projects that build skills and contribute to a portfolio. Maybe you want to be a concept artist, an illustrator, a fine artist, or just the most badass hobbyist on your block. Whatever you want to do with art, if you ever want to do anything vaguely original, you need to understand design. You need a process and a mental framework for getting to something new rather than just copying what you've seen before or photos of stuff that already exists. If you do want to improve at design, that process, that mental framework, it does exist. It's based on the principles of design, and I've spent the past year, wait, is it more than a year? Oh my God, this took forever. I've spent the past whatever putting this course together, full of my insights into the elements of art and the principles of design. Across 10 assignments in this course, you will be concepting your own imagined video game. You'll come up with the overall idea, you'll pick a theme, you'll write a treatment, and you'll design assets that give you a chance to practice all these new concepts. And at the end, all of these individual assignments come together into a cohesive final image. When I designed this syllabus, I wanted to make the course I wish I had taken back in my first year of school. And I did. If I was asked to teach Design 1 at Art Center today, I would just play these videos as my lectures, and this is the same cohesive, practical, fun assignment I would make the students do all semester. Also, just like a college course, everyone gets my feedback on all 10 assignments. In the exclusive course community, you can post your work to get feedback from me and your peers, and there's even a video workroom that's always open so you can hang out together while you work. So if you're interested, go to zapatacourses.com/designfundamentals and check it out. And I will see you on the other side of the mystical gateway of design.
Come in. Oh,
Hello, Joseph, is it?
hi, Dr. Zapata. Yes, Joe. How are you?
I'm well. What seems to be the problem, Joe?
Well, I'm having difficulty drawing from imagination.
Oh, Joseph, just so you know, that's totally normal. Why don't you tell me a little more about your problem? Is it that you can only draw from imagination if you're completely alone?
Doc, I can't ever draw from imagination.
What about if you're completely relaxed?
When I'm totally relaxed, I can't imagine a thing.
I see. Joseph, it's important to know that even with severe cases like this, there's always hope. I can prescribe an experimental therapy called Form from Imagination.
Form from imagination?
Mm-hmm. It's early days, but clinical trials are extremely promising. Why don't you try this for 6 months and then check back in with me?
Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. Did you just draw this?
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. Hey, Doc, do you ever have trouble drawing from imagination?
Oh no.
You wouldn't. I mean, you do this.
That's right.
Wow.
Form from Imagination is an experimental therapy and is not yet approved for use by the FDA. Do not use Form from Imagination if you are already taking any prescriptions for drawing from reference, working side size, or tracing photos you didn't even take. Stop taking Form from Imagination if you experience any of these side effects: loss of interest in your personal projects, megalomaniacal self-confidence, hallucinations, unless they're the kind you're hoping for, drawing better than Steven Zapata, or feelings that purchasing the course was enough and you don't really need to do the exercises. Call your doctor if you have stiff gestures, flat forms, or boring ideas to address a possible life-threatening condition. Full sketchbooks have been reported with form from imagination and medicines like it. Other risks include long-term art careers, too many clients, and being worth more than you're charging for. Call your doctor today and ask about form from imagination. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I'm live online. All right, let's see. Get that out of the way. Am I visible? I'm visible. Hello, people. Hello. Aki says, my first stream as a father. I hope you guys are doing great with baby. We are doing great. No sleep. Covered in baby spit up, but doing great. It is awesome, but it's true. This is my first stream as a father. Hello, everybody. And how is it that I'm streaming as a father? It is because Irmita, because my good mother is here to handle baby for a little while I jump on here and squeeze in a stream. Hello to Andrew Maxim, Kyokusei, Drink Water, Aki, of course, Shady on Fire, Art Dad, who says Father Zapata. He also knows what it's like to be a dad and an art at the same time. A dad and art at the same time. Renola Dominguez. Am I loud enough? I forget what my audio settings were. The title of the stream is just what was sitting in there from whenever the last time I dreamed of doing a stream was. I don't know what to actually name the stream. I do have my pens out, so I could do some ink work, but I might wind up doing design stuff or something like that. Sheldon Martin, hello, Basic Syphilis 8. Matej Koyar. Matej Koyar. Koyar. Nobody. Who, as a fan of emptiness, I love the name Nobody. Good name. Wish my name was Nobody. Safi. Safi, who says, oh my guys, hey. OKM, Jensen D, Bazoler, David Bro, pronounced Bro. You should totally release that commercial as a self-contained video. It's out there. It's from like 2 years ago, but if you go back in the YouTube, it's there. Sheldon Martin, who says you are in the visible spectrum. Excellent. Excellent. Vorbar Boban, hello. Sully Deet says, do you have any non-art hobbies at the moment? My current non-art hobby is wiping poop off of my newborn's ass. That is my current hobby. Really into that hobby right now. Really into that hobby. I'm so excited for that hobby that I'm doing it like 6 times a night. You know, I try to sleep, you know, and I lay there. I'm so excited, you know, to just like, you know, I keep having new ideas of like how to wipe the poop. And I got to leap out of bed and do it, you know? There's these weird auditory hallucinations of like a crying baby making me leap out of bed, and I just got to do it. I got to do it. Ayub Azak Mountain says, yo! Imageniac, I'm doing well, truly. 20115, hello. Lucas Rabbitson, hello. Oh, Basic Syphilis with a $5 donation. Thank you so much, Basic Syphilis. Who says, congratulations, Stephen, and welcome to fatherhood. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I greatly appreciate the donation. You know, this donation money, there was a period where it became coffee for me. And then my responsibility shifted, and the donation money became dental treats for my dog. And now responsibilities have shifted again, and these $5 are surely going to become coffee for my baby. Coffee for my baby. You see, my baby has Colombian genetics. And as any Colombian will tell you, we rely on caffeine to unlock our full genetic potential. Other people, they need, you know, AG1 super greens. They need Zyn chewable tobacco packs to unlock their full potential. Colombians, very specific thing. You need caffeine, you need coffee. You need a particular degree of coffee every day to get the, the RNA and the nucleic acids to like jive well with the DNA. And then once that happens, full power, everything unlocked. So necessary supplement for my baby. It goes right in the bottle. We put strong coffee in the baby bottle and he drinks it all up. 4 ounces at a time. 4 ounces of strong black coffee. No breast milk yet. Not yet. Soon we'll add breast milk to the baby's coffee. But for now, it's got to be, it's a loading period. It's got to be very strong, very direct. So Basic Syphilis, thank you so much. I will turn those $5 into pure black coffee to put in my baby's bottle. Very, very soon. I'll send you a picture. He loves it. He loves it. He's always saying how much he loves it. Very loudly and continuously pronouncing how much he loves it. Let's honor some patrons real quick. Since the last stream, we have Lac Asylum, Erosian, and Nun Yo have joined the Patreon. Thank you so much. I want to thank you guys for doing that. Being patrons, maybe you'll spare me and understand why I may be not at the top of my game right now for doing some vignettes, but I will say this. All 3 of you, Lac Asylum, Erosian, wait, I can barely see that with my old fucking man eyes. Let me get that a little bigger. It's Erosian, right? Yeah, Erosian. Lac Asylum, Erosian, and Nun Yo. I'll tell you this, all 3 of you are heavy gold coins. In the money pouch of this weary traveler. And you're the kind of gold coins that are going to purchase a brief respite at a roadside inn, just a moment of peace, and perhaps some bread with butter and honey in a warm, soft bed in a quiet place. Just a moment of peace. A moment of peace on that chaotic road, the chaotic road that we all walk. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. I appreciate it. Let's see if we put on a little música today. La música. Ooh, what are we feeling? R&B essentials? Oh, yeah. No, not at all. Country pop essentials?
The depths of silence.
No.
Echoes remain.
No. Her echoes do not remain in the depths of silence. Guitar essentials? I wonder what kind of guitar are we talking about here? Nope. Not so good. I need to log in. What I need to do is I need to log in. Do I have anything saved that I might like? We might need to fall back on the good old video game music. Oh, that's putting me right to sleep. No, I'm drifting off right now. I learned it from watching my boy. Sheldon says, is the message you want your kids to take from this in the future that they poop a lot and keep consuming coffee? Yeah. Message. It's factual reporting. That's all that is. That's factual reporting. Sully Deet says, love to see you working in ink as much as I love your graphite. Oh, thank you, Sully. That's very kind. The thumbnail of this makes it look so sus. What is the thumbnail? I had uploaded this a while ago. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's fine. As long as the algorithm doesn't care, I don't care, you know? I do not care at all. We can switch it in the middle. How was it? Hold on a second, I'm gonna mute for a second. I need to check on them. Okay, we're all good. Watercolor artiste. This is good afternoon. Greetings from Northwest Georgia. Thank you, watercolor artiste. Greetings from New York. I did a watercolor. I did that a couple weeks ago. When I was far from the mic, I did that a couple weeks ago. Oh, sorry. Give me a second. My mic's not in a good spot. It'll drive me crazy the whole time. Can your child draw yet? Oh yeah, and he draws better than you. Oh. Kicking your ass. No problem. Why'd the music break? What happened here? Kind of makes me want to do watercolor right now, but I don't want to. Everything on my desk is not watercolor stuff. I don't want to. Too lazy right now to get all the gear out. The gear. Disc breaker. Hello. We put these away, and by away I mean on the ground next to me. And did I reposition this right? Who's going to Lightbox? I'm thinking about it. Even in the midst of all this, thinking of going. I wasn't gonna. But my wife was like, you should go. If she thinks I should go, gotta take it seriously. Last time I streamed, I did, I'd started talking about doing these little statue designs that I wanted to do. And that's really the last coherent thought I had on stream, so that's what's in my mind. So I'm just going to do some little ink sketches for maybe what those statues could be. My main, I mean, there's a much bigger sort of, system of thought around it than this, but the main visual touchstone I have right now is in Bloodborne. I always loved when you go into the cathedral in mid-game and the cathedral looks normal-ish from the outside, and then there's statues of Amygdala inside. So that's got me thinking of alien statues. I also had some nightmares the other night. About aliens, which is the only thing I ever have real nightmares about. So they're on my mind. This is the kind of thing that's probably better done in digital, but we've got the paper out, so screw it. Make myself smaller. And I'm gonna move my camera. You're gonna see a lot of shaking for a second. Just a moment. Azaler says, Steven, what are your thoughts on starting a Discord community? I hope it's not too wild of a suggestion. I have one. It's through the Patreon. I do not have a free Discord because, in my personal opinion, they go to crap too quickly when they're free. I hate to say that, but in my experience, it's true. Some people keep them really well moderated and healthy, but most of what I see is that if a Discord is just open all the time, you get trolls and low quality anger posters and stuff like that very quickly. So the Discord community has held up very well, and in my opinion, it's because everybody who's in there was willing to throw down $5 to be there. So they're sort of invested, they're serious. That's not even that much, you know, but it makes a difference. By the way, for any of the patrons listening, for the next Q&A, I want to try to do that audio voicemail for the Qs, for the questions. I set up a speak pipe while I was bopping my baby boy this morning, so when the time for the next Q&A comes, I'll post the speak pipe link and you can ask your questions as voice messages. And I'll play them on the YouTube, and then I'll answer them. Unless things get too spiritual and esoteric and YouTube can't handle it, in which case I'll answer them, but just for the Patreon. That was a joke, by the way. We've never hit a level of questions so esoteric that I was unwilling to post it on the YouTube. Maybe that doesn't exist. I've talked about just about everything here on the YouTube, so. What about graphite? What about it? What about it? Graphite is a tool of the week. No, it isn't. As a certified graphite master, I can say without bias that graphite is the greatest medium, and if you're good at it, it proves objectively that you're a good artist. That's without bias. That's said without bias, just for the record. You know that it's said without bias because I said it's said without bias. You can't say that if you're biased. So, because I'm a graphite master, and everybody knows I am, because I'm a graphite master, that means I'm a board certified badass artist. So if you want to be board certified, you better get good at graphite. Hello, Cody. Cody. Ozzo says, Steven, I found the most traditional looking brush for Clip Studio. Can I show a figure done with them? Well, there's no way for you to show me here, but if you're a part of the Discord, you should post it in the Discord so that fellow Discordians can see it and let them judge just how natural it is. Steven, who's the weirdest artist you know? Probably me, which I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of that. Is there anything more pretentious than being proud of how weird you are? Where's my fucking ruler? Hold on a second. I know it's in here somewhere. It is not. How's that possible? I gotta get the other one, the long one. Oh no, it's here. Omar says, Steven, how long will you wait until your baby gets their first tablet? What brushes will you let them start with? I'm getting a little tired of this joke. This joke that everybody has that, oh, just because Steven's a world-class master artist, he's gonna obviously push his son to be a world-class master artist. The long, delicate artist fingers that I bestowed upon my son are for counting banknotes. I'm going to push him to be an investment banker. There is no other option. He'll do great. He can get a graphics tablet if for some reason that makes it easier for him to operate Excel. And for no other reason. You think your parents are bad? You think your parents are bad? Telling you that you shouldn't be an artist and I can't make ends meet? Imagine if your parents were like popular, hardworking, long career having artists. What are you gonna say to them now? What are you gonna say to them now? I used to think you couldn't get, in something like a statue made out of wood or stone, the fabric that I'm implying here. I used to think that you couldn't get undercuts like this in stone. And then I went to the Uffizi and saw the statues in the niches outside the main building and was proven very wrong. The old masters were truly masters. There's also a great Bernini sculpture of, it's St. Peter, who was a fisherman, right? There's a great Bernini sculpture of St. Peter in St. Peter's Basilica, naturally, with a fishing net made out of stone One look at that net and you'll know that actually anything's possible in stone. Anything is possible in stone. You just lack creativity and craft. I remember staring at that net, mouth wide open, just going, ah yes, ah yes. More is possible than we ever dreamed of. Random question, how do you store all of your traditional work? Just in like an Itoya portfolio book. I wish I had flat files, like really big flat files, but I don't have the room for that. If I had a studio, like a separate studio space, that's the first thing I would buy. I would probably line a whole wall with flat files. Is there someone else in the room? Is this other person in the room with us now, Stephen? Hot in here, right? I gotta crack the window. Lukey Poo, hello. What are your favorite graphite artists? I don't know if it's specifically graphite. There's some artists that I consider sort of this style of artists that are not necessarily working in graphite. But living ones, well, you rarely see their graphite work anymore. I don't know if they do it personally, but they certainly don't post it much anymore. But living artists most influential for me for graphite were Wes Burt and Marko Djurdjevic, but they're much older stuff. Wes, I rarely see a pencil drawing from him these days. Marko maybe a little bit more, but back in the aughts, like 08, 09, the pencil stuff they were posting back then was hugely influential on me. Who else is great? Miles Johnson is great at graphite. Jeremy Inesio is awesome. Those are probably, of the living ones, the ones who I think of the most often for graphite. There's artists who do work that, to me, I'm like, You could do that in graphite, but it's just they don't work in graphite. They're doing like charcoal or pastel, you know. Steve Houston's figure drawings and stuff like that are very influential to me, but they're mostly charcoal, if I remember correctly. Carlos Huante has stuff that I feel you can do in graphite, but I think he's usually working. He does do graphite work, but I think probably on balance, it's mostly, it's a lot of other things too. It's like marker, colored pencil, things like that. For dead artists, classical artists, Jean-Dominique Eng, he probably taught me, copying him probably taught me more graphite technique than anything else ever. And who else? I had someone on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. Who was it? It's getting baby brained right now. Who was it? Eng and who? I could just list a lot of drawers, because the thing is, I don't really think of it just as graphite work. You know, graphite is just my chosen medium for replicating a certain number of effects, but graphite is very flexible. So I feel like I take effects from charcoal, from pastels. You could do all of that with graphite. Ernst Fuchs has some epic charcoal drawings that have been very influential on me. What is your favorite creature? Mine is male Zugts, but goblin is close second. I don't know what a Zugts is. Favorite creature is the xenomorph from Alien. Without a doubt. To me, that's number one, and you know, it's really like a one without a second. I don't really think anything else has really come close. Right place, right time, right mind. Every creature design since feels so clinical in comparison, you know. A lot of excellent, fun creature designs, but for like a creature that's really meant to scare the shit out of you, I don't think anything has even, like I said, realistically competed with the xenomorph. If we're evaluating on cool, different question. But for fear, nothing beats the xenomorph. And I think that's harder to achieve than cool. Especially because the xenomorph is cool and scary. I do resent the people who focus on the cool, though. You know, the alien versus predator vibe. I'm like, that ain't it. That's not it. Roundbrush says, happy baby and much sleep, Stephen. Thank you, Roundbrush. Stephen, I'm hearing some great Spanish music, says Chady on Fire. I don't know if it's Spanish, just some, I think it's just flamenco guitar playing on this playlist. I can only barely hear it. It does sound good though. Watercolor RT says, I'm watching while working and I have an urge to chirp. What the fuck? Am I still live? Am I still streaming? That was weird. Never seen that notification before. YouTube told me not enough memory to run this. Never seen that before. Still connected. Says stream is healthy. Okay. Whoa, and I see that Cody gave $20. Thank you so much, Cody. That's very kind. Big donation from Cody. That's gonna put a lot of straight black coffee into my baby's bottle. Gonna turn that into a lot of, that's like, I think I could buy like 32 ounces of ground coffee with that, Cody, like good ground coffee that I can brew strong. We're talking 3 tablespoons to the cup and put directly into my baby's bottle for him to drink up and unlock the full potential of his Colombian genetics. No breast milk in there, not yet. It's not ready to be diluted. Again, we're caffeine loading right now. Once the initial load has been loaded, then we can start diluting a little bit with a little bit of breast milk, just a slight bit of creamer on that coffee. But for now, no. Cody says, hey, Stephen, I noticed I have an issue with choosing successful thumbnails before I start painting. If you had this issue, how would you address it? I always seem to choose wrong and waste time backtracking to fix things. This is gonna be a very unsatisfactory answer, but this is a problem I've seen with people a lot. And this is the most robust answer that I found, or the truest answer. You are not going to learn what makes a good thumbnail for you by focusing on the thumbnails. You improve your ability to pick thumbnails, unfortunately, by doing fully finished pieces, by pushing pieces all the way to the end over and over and over again. Because that is the only way that you learn what is actually important to you in the finish, how you want to finish, what information you need or don't need to finish, to get you over the finish line. And then that transforms the way that you view your thumbnails. The more experience you get in that final 50 hours, then when you go back and do thumbnails, every little line looks different, feels different. Then you know, okay, that line is 20 hours of work at the end. This line, this shape is 40 hours of work at the end, 8 hours of work at the end. Beyond the finishing times, it's also like, this shape that I drew in this thumbnail, I'm not guessing now. I know from my experience that it is unsatisfactory to tell me how to finish this shape. So that shape needs to go up in quality, even in the thumbnail phase. Alternately, you look at that, you might see a shape that's too tight. You may be like, this shape for this piece of content is locking me in and gonna bore me in the finish, and I actually should have left that shape a little bit more ambiguous so that I could discover what it's going to be on the final to keep me excited and keep me interested. So the first one is sort of the hard planning side of things, and the second option that I gave there, where you don't want the shapes to be so tight, that's soft planning. That's more what I need to do to get to finish. I need to be a little scared of the picture to be able to put a very long time into it. I can't have perfect answers for everything. That's really what it takes to know your thumbnails well. So again, that's not a great answer for your question, because all I'm really saying there is stay the course, and it is gonna get better. But yeah, you don't learn it through focusing on the thumbnails. You learn it through focusing on the finishes. That teaches you what your thumbnails actually need to be. If you focus on the thumbnails and trying to obsess about making them better, they become their own insular, sort of deceptive practice where you're just trying to make beautiful thumbnails for their own sake, and they're not connecting to what a finish needs. And so the whole process starts to fall apart. You really need to focus on the finish. And what works for other people, I mean, this goes for everything. So just to do my usual disclaimer here, it has to be this way because it has to be personal, right? It's not about what makes a successful thumbnail for everybody. It's about what makes a successful thumbnail for you and the art that you make. Can we clip this? Clip whatever you want. Clip whatever you want. How did the pups react to the baby upon meeting him? One did not clock him as a creature at all. And Fanny, too interested. She's like, that's our baby comrade, and you gotta let me get in its face and take a good look at it. I wish I wasn't doing this on this big pad. I can't turn it the way that I want. I think this advice is generally applicable to all 2D art. Indeed it is. Actually, if it's going to be a statue, no specular highlight in the eye. Actually, I shouldn't even be making the eye black. Well, I could make it black, I guess, because I do like, I was thinking of making these painted statues. So I can imply a little local color change. Joey, what's up? Ayub says, searching for themes of different video games on Google, I noticed that they describe the theme as being the objective of the game, while yours feels like a description of the visual mood. Yeah, for the course, yes. Theme is a squishy word. I mean, people think of theme in different ways, but for the course, we're going to need to use a different sense of theme than the way you might use the word theme for an actual video game that people can buy and play, right? So I can't control how other people use the word, but I describe theme as we're using it in the demos. So just go by what I'm saying, which is theme determines the content, what you're actually drawing, right? Greek mythology is a theme. It determines the content. If you're gonna draw a vase, you're gonna draw a Greek vase. You're not gonna draw a sci-fi vase, right? Sounds like maybe what you're finding on Google is they're using theme to describe maybe like the gameplay loop or something like that. I don't see how theme would fit as being the objective of a game. That would just be the objective. You can describe theme however you want, but as the objective of the game, I don't really see how that fits into any common definition of the word theme. It's like the theme of a game is save the princess. That doesn't sound right to me. Modern day James, how are you, sir? See, now I'm getting so much appropriate daddy talk. I used to get a lot of inappropriate daddy talk. Now I get appropriate daddy talk, calling me daddy for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. I was getting a lot of being called daddy for the wrong reasons. The husband unit recently introduced me to the amazing work of Bernie Wrightson, absolutely in awe of his skill. Yeah, he was awesome. I have his Frankenstein on the bookshelf back there somewhere. Been very inspired by that for a long time. You ever like not draw for a really long time? And then you draw again and you're like, holy shit. I am fucking amazing at drawing. Oh my fucking God, I almost forgot. It's like you take a long enough break from seeing impossible, beautiful things just fly off the tip of your pencil, that when you do it again super fucking casually, you're like, oh my God, I'm like a living miracle for real. It's always kind of a weird feeling. You know, you gotta kind of step back and take a deep breath and be like, whoa, I am unto a god. I had nearly forgotten. This pen's drying out. Joao says, oh, my YouTube shows the same problem of memory now. What the? Yeah, my YouTube gave me a weird notification about memory that I'd never seen before. And then just completely dumped out my stream page. I'm gonna move my camera again, just because I stupidly started on this big pad. I'm off to the side here. Steven, do you still work industry gigs? I have not been lately. I still get hit up for them every now and then. I got hit up the other day. But I've not been doing them. AEINU says, hi, Stephen. Have you ever felt like you've forgotten how to learn? Recently, I feel like I'm not sure I know how. I mean, yeah, you feel that way every now and then, but you just stay the course. All feelings come and go. There's no real change that needs to happen to the learning system in art until you're like at in the advanced territory, at which time you don't need to change anything about how you learn, but you need to start teaching to make progress. So before that, you know, it's just a feeling. You are still getting better. So don't worry about it. Cody says, would you consider being an effective teacher to be the final boss? No. No. It's nice if you're an effective teacher. You don't even have to be that great of a teacher as long as you can, you know, most people who are going to come to most artists to learn are just trying to learn how that artist does their work. So as long as you can talk about how you do your work, most people will be happy with that from a teacher. There's higher level things you can do as a teacher. You know, helping people with their work, doing more the counseling side of teaching. You know, if you have the emotional intelligence to help people have emotional breakthroughs and deal with more of the mental struggle and things like that. But that's different stuff. I would say that within the realm of teaching, that's more, I'm not really going to say it's advanced because that implies that it's like on a continuum that every teacher should be engaging on. It isn't. I don't think it is. It's like, it's a different area of teaching that not every artist needs to engage in. I do. I like that. That's like the part of teaching I enjoy most. But that's not, you know, for most artists, that's not why people are coming to you. They just want to learn how you make your pictures, right? So as long as you can talk about that in even a kind of crude kind of a way, it's still going to benefit people and it's going to benefit you to put into words how you do what you do. The final boss is making art you care about. That's the final boss. And every time you engage in it, it's another final boss added to the game. But that's very hard for people to do these days, and most people can't swing it. Hito with the 20 euros, thank you so much. Hito says, hi Steven, thank you for being so awesome. Thank you so much for the 20 euros, Hito. Hito? Hito? Perhaps it's hi two. Perhaps it's Hito. Hito. Thank you for the 20. I really appreciate it. And so does my son. My son is racking up a lot of strong, pure black coffee in his bottle today. Won't be long now till my pediatrician is saying, wow, your son is super healthy. Have you been giving him pure black coffee in his bottle? And I'll say, that's right. My pediatrician will kind of smirk and say, it's great. That's great. How'd you afford that? I was like, yeah, actually people on the internet gave me the money for drawing online. The pediatrician was saying, what? She's holding my baby by the legs. What? Really? No fucking way. Seriously? Just because you're drawing goblins on the internet, they give you money for the black coffee? I was like, yep. Yeah. No, I feel super lucky. Very fortunate. Pediatrician's like, I have a Porsche, but that's awesome. And I'm like a classic Porsche? No, it's like a new Porsche, you fucking plebeian. Baby's good, Anirudh. Baby is good. It looks like you're wearing a tiny hat under the camera. I see what you're saying, yeah. It does look like a top hat, right? The adapter ring at the end of the camera lens makes it look like a top hat. Is there Japanese artists you like a lot? No. I feel like they kill themselves for their art and is out of the limits what they do. Yeah, they do, but I don't like them. I'm very racist in that way. I only like American artists. It's just like, that's just how I express my racism personally, is that I only want to hear about American artists. I don't want to hear about any other kinds of artists. That wouldn't even be, because, you know, that's like jingoism. That's not even necessarily racism, because that's sort of more based on ethnogeography or something like that. Anyway, whatever I am, it's not good. Sorry, I get a real kick out of myself. No, but in all seriousness, there's a lot of great Japanese artists that I really admire, but I can't pronounce their names or remember them. So all my pens are dry. Anirudh says, Steven, I once heard you saying, how about you make 100 artworks you care about before you die? And now it's a note on my phone and it haunts me every time I see it. It's the hardest thing you could do. I mean, most artists won't manage it. Most amazing artists won't manage it. If you're looking for an art challenge, that's the one. And I'm the only fucking person on YouTube brave enough to tell you that. Most great artists will not swing it. Even Craig Mullins says he spent his career selling sugar water to children. Try to do it while you've got the chance. Try to make work you care about. Sargent was sick of his portraits by the time he was done with them. He gave them up in disgust. Charlie Wing says, I've made at least 2. That's good. That's more than most people will get to. They'll have to finish late in the afterlife. Hopefully there's enough time in the afterlife. Well, what does it mean to make art you care about? It's a bad start if you need me to tell you that. Bad start. Hello, Isabella. Anna Root says, honestly, big thanks for saying that, Steve. I'm on my way on doing at least 10 out of 100 this year. Believe it. Good, Anna Root. Good. I believe in you. I believe in you. Good. Keep it up. Watercolor RT says, tough to meet that challenge starting as late in life as I have. It doesn't matter when you started. Like it should always matter to you to be doing work you care about. It's like, I don't know. I mean, what algorithm are you running? Are you like, well, I started late in life, so I have to do work that makes money? It's like, are you putting something else before making work you care about? It's like, that'll last for a while, but it always ends in disaster. Always. Sorry. It's just the way it is with art. JB says, thoughts on pure world building as a vehicle for artistic expression. It's something I do but feel pressured to turn into a game or a comic. Well, just ignore the pressure. I mean, do whatever makes you happy. You're under no obligation to turn anything into anything for anyone, you know? If you just like the freedom of world building without it needing to become anything, that's great, you know? And if that's fully satisfying to you, I mean, in some sense, you should consider yourself one of the lucky ones, you know, that you don't feel the manic drive to do something else with it. Like, that's a gift to just have that be a complete artistic expression. It doesn't need anything else. And if other people are like, oh my God, I love this. Please, can you make a video game out of it? And that doesn't resonate with you, then just take it as a compliment. Just take it as a compliment that it really excites them. And you could just tell them, you know what, I'd love if you made a video game out of it, but I'm not gonna do it. Hit me up for a licensing deal. There's lots of examples of pure world building. Even pretty elaborate ones like, well, I mean, there's the classic that inspired a lot of people. What was it? Someone will know. There's a famous artist who made like a book of like how gnomes live. I want to say it was like a Swedish artist or something like that. It's old. It's got to be like over 30 years old now, that book, but it influenced a lot of people in their childhood. I'm completely blanking on his name. It might have been like a team, two people. I'm completely blanking on the team, and I'm completely blanking on the name of the book. Famous book. Someone here knows. It's like a world-building book of just cool sketches, and here's how gnomes live, as if they were real. Dinotopia is kind of like that, I guess. That's pure world building to some degree. Though he did try to make it into games and stuff after, but in the end, I think it wound up being pure world building. You mean fairy? Yeah, maybe it was fairies. I remember it's something about gnomes or like, not trolls, but like, why do I remember something about like they were cobbling shoes or something like that? Tim says, Stephen, when is your course Transformational Anatomy, Whole Body and Mind with Feedback going to be released? Give me 5 years. 5 years. Ozil says, I think I've been running on what other people would expect from me. Yeah, man. Not good. I might be your only friend in this world who's looking you straight in the eye and saying, that's not good, you know. Everybody else who you ask might tell you that's good because, you know, they're getting what they want or expect from you, but take it from me. Someone who's been an artist for a long time, has known a lot of artists for a long time, sat in dark, somber rooms with a lot of crying artists talking about how everything fell apart for them. That shit is not sustainable. It will fall apart. And even if it doesn't fall apart, like externally, like, you know, one day it's gonna crumble internally and you're just gonna put the pencil down and be like, why did I care about this again? I'm done. I'm not gonna do this anymore and it'll all be over. And you'll kind of feel like you wasted however long it was, you know, 10, 20 years. Oh, Brian Froud sounds familiar. Fairies, maybe that's it. Brian Froud's Fairies. Out of print, that does sound right. Rian Portviet is the name of the artist who did the Gnome book. Okay, so maybe Fairies and the Gnome book are different. I think I was thinking of the Gnome book. I'm gonna grab a glass of water. I'll be right back. I'm gonna use the restroom too. 1 minute. Baby's sleeping. I think I get this one. I think I get it. And It's at the point where I could just flip it in Photoshop. I want these. I was imagining this one's symmetrical, so. For a design sheet, I might as well just flip it digitally. But I don't really like this one. As usual on stream, I just did one little sketch and then dove right into it. So I'm gonna switch to my sketchbook and we'll do a bunch more of these smaller. Oh yeah. Aki says, Steven, will we be blessed with the name and site of Little Zapata anytime soon? His name is Jamie. The site? No. I don't need to build him a social media paper trail just yet. Something doesn't feel quite right about it. Joe says, Steve, is Jamie at 1 month already? Not quite. Not quite. Cody says, how would someone break into movie posters for Magic or game studios, etc.? For Magic or game studios, etc. I imagine you try to make connections, send off portfolios, speak to ADs, but who's the equivalent for posters? Most movie posters do not need illustrators. Most movie posters need someone who draws at the concept phase, which is usually done by an advertising firm. So the way that an industry works is that the production company that made the movie, right? Let's say it's a horror movie about sexy teenage kids running around in the woods together and having all sorts of little sexual tensions between them. You know, they're so naive and blithe, with just focusing on, oh, you're so hot. They have no idea. They have no idea what's in the woods waiting just for them. But they're gonna know. And when its ancient needs are met, the world will never be the same. Let's say that's the movie, right? A production company is making that movie. They then take their advertising budget and they put out a call for proposals, right? It has a whole bunch of other technical terms in the industry, but they put out a call for proposals that go out to all of the major advertising firms, right? And they say, we're thinking something like this, something like that as the advertising vehicle for our movie, right? And then all the ad firms, they come back with a proposal deck and they say, we think something like this would be cool, something like this would be cool, something like this would be cool. In that proposal deck, there might be more AI these days, who knows, but back in the golden times, there might be concept sketches done by an illustrator in that proposal deck for the ad firm to send to the production company and try to get the job. So an illustrator might have been brought on at that point by the ad firm, by the advertising agency firm. So I hope that you get what's going on there. It's not the movie studio generally that hires you. It's the firm, the ad firm that was hired by the movie studio to do the advertising contract. So you might work for the ad firm to do the pitch deck. And if they get the job, they might have need for further illustrations to do more presenting of concepts to the movie studio to get things finalized, at which point they would still keep hiring you and things like that. And then that's the end for most, would be the end for most movie posters. Most movie posters these days are done with photography, collaging photography, which really involves zero to no illustration. I mean, it really is just expert photoshopping. The people who do that very well need not have any drawing or painting ability. You just need to be very knowledgeable about how to make photos work well together. And if there's a lot of CGI in the movie, if there's, a giant robot or a monster in the movie that for some reason is going to be on the poster, which is, even that is pretty rare. You get 3D asset. Usually you get 3D assets put out by the whoever's doing the VFX for the movie. They're going to export 3D assets that then get gussied up on the poster. And maybe, if the timelines are all fucked up, the 3D exports need a lot of help from an illustrator to sort of make them up to speed. But again, very little drawing, probably very little painting, mostly just very good photo bashing and things like that. The only movie posters that are going to need a lot of illustration for the final is going to be movie posters that through the lefts and rights of the advertising creative process, they decided it's supposed to look like a painting for whatever reason. That's the theme of the movie. It's a period piece, something like that. That obviously would need an illustrator, but that's not a reliable job. There's probably only a handful of those in the movie industry every year, right? And there might be a time when that's not the case. Maybe a year will come where half of all movie posters will be meant to look like they're painted, right? But that's a fad. It's a fad that's going to come and go. So those obviously are the exception that proves the rule. They would need a lot of illustrators. So long way to say if you're going to repeatedly work on movie posters as someone who draws and paints in the current era, that's you work, maybe you're employed by an advertising firm, and you're the guy who does those sketches when the advertising firm gets those contracts from the production companies. That also means that that's not going to be all the work you do, right? You're either going to get contracted by that ad firm every now and then when they get that job, or if you're an employee with them, that's just going to be in your rotation. You're going to have to do a bunch of other stuff, storyboards, things like that, when those jobs aren't around. I love YouTube videos which talk about how movie posters and video game box art got effing boring and sterile over time. Yeah. You know, I'm just chilling on YouTube for a while. It's kind of a dark age out there for everything. At least in my opinion. Jeff E says, is the new class out? Yes, it is. That's design fundamentals, don't you know? Steven, could you explain ambient light more? When I listened to your explanation in the course, I was deeply confused. I take notes, but your deeper explanations of the concept were flying past me. Okay. Ambient light. Here's the no bullshit answer. And it is complicated a little bit, but once you get it, you're going to get it, right? And I can't guarantee you're going to get it from here, but this is the main thing to focus on. Do you know what chrome is, right? Chrome is a material that is just mirrored, right? So your sink faucet is probably chrome, right? Not everybody. Some people have a nice brushed steel sink faucet that has a more matte texture, but a lot of classic sink faucets, it's chrome, it's shiny, it's mirrored. You could get really up close to it and you'll see your reflection all distorted in it, right? I don't have a single chrome thing in here. Okay, well, I have mirrors, but, it's a mirrored finish. So imagine a chrome sphere, a ball that is a perfect mirror. It's just whatever, like the mirror you would use to put your clothes on in the morning. It's a ball that's just that, a chrome mirror. Those exist, a ball bearing, right? If you've ever pulled, ball bearings out of something that spins or something, right? They're a perfectly reflective little sphere, right? Imagine you're holding a big one. What do you see in the chrome sphere that you're holding in your imaginary hand? There's only one thing you could see. Everything that's around you, right? You're gonna see yourself, you're gonna see your own hand, the fingertips reflected in the sphere. You're gonna see the sky behind you. You're gonna see your mother yelling at your sister over your shoulder. You're gonna see the car that you wanna sell. You're gonna see your dog running into the street about to get into an impending accident. You're gonna see the storm clouds gathering on the horizon, bringing bad omens. You're gonna see everything that is directly around you. How is that possible? Why does that happen? It's because everything in the world, everything, technically, is a light emitter. Everything is emitting light. It is emitting light that it has bounced off of itself to your eye, right? But for all intents and purposes, all that is just photons. It doesn't matter that they're photons that have had their wavelengths attenuated and that they're photons that have been changed by the angle they were flying because of their bounce. They're still just photons. It's all just light, right? So everything in the environment is a light emitter. That's the only way it could possibly be seen by you. So the chrome ball proves that everything in the environment is sending light out. That's why the chrome ball can catch it and then reflect it back to your eye, right? That is ambient light. Some people say ambient light is the sky dome, right? That's part of it, but it's also everything else. It is absolutely everything else. So ambient light is the complicated, unfortunately complicated, complete assessment of the entire lighting situation in the environment beyond just the direct light emitters like the sun or a light bulb, right? So it's like you may have the sun in the environment, right? But if you are surrounded by nothing but trees, if you look in the chrome ball, what color is the chrome ball going to be overall? It's going to have the sun reflected in it. It's going to have a white hotspot, but it's also going to be mostly green. That is to say, the leaves of the trees are reflected in the ball. Now imagine that magically, as you're staring at this chrome ball that is reflecting all these leaves, right? Magically, without changing it, it is transforming in your hand into a rubber ball instead of a mirrored ball. What did the change of the ball into a rubber ball, what did that change about the photons of green leaves that were hitting the chrome ball? Nothing. It didn't change anything. Those green photons are still hitting the rubber ball in all the same places. So that means that the green of those leaves is still affecting the new rubber ball in a similar way. So the color of the rubber ball will become slightly greenish by all of that green that is around, not just the direct sunlight that is on it. So it is a little complicated, but if you just think on that, meditate on that, maybe go get a chrome ball and walk around with it, eventually this will unlock the truth of what ambient light is for you. Ambient light is just the totality of the light information in the environment, in the surrounding environment, the totality of it. Discord email says, wait a minute, you're cooking? Okay, so maybe that's gonna break through. Maybe that's gonna break through. And I do demonstrate the chrome ball idea at the end of the modeling factors video in Form from Imagination. So ambient occlusion is the only shadow that exists. It is ambient light's cast shadow. Yes, I mean, if you want to interpret it that way. It's like ambient occlusion occurs because the whole environment is being more and more obscured by two objects coming closer together, right? I mean, cast shadows are shadows. It's just that most cast shadows do still have quite a bit of light happening in them. So if that to you makes you feel like they're not real, then okay, but they are still, you know, an artifact created by the occlusion of light. It's just, yeah, in most situations, there's still quite a bit of light in a cast shadow. Just remember that all there are photons. There are no nega non-photons, right? There are no shadow photons. There's just, that's all light, that's all that lighting is. It's just how many photons are hitting this place, and that's it. They create lighting, they create light, they create shadows. Photons being occluded is actually what creates the illusion of perspective, right? That's why we see perspective. It's just the geometry at its core. If you're looking at like what really is perspective, what actually the fuck is perspective, it is just the geometry of the occlusion of photons as to how they enter your eye. That's it. That's what creates the illusion of perspective. Now, if you want to go on a real acid trip, try to figure out what the fuck a photon is. Oh shit, I hear tea brewing. Hold on, I gotta throw my hat in the ring. Oops. Okay. Sorry, I had to throw my hat in the ring. Chat, remind me in 5 minutes to go get my tea. I will forget. I'll leave it out on the counter forever. JB says, need to master particle physics before we are allowed to draw anime girls. It is amazing how many people do genuinely feel that way, basically, for all intents and purposes. It's like, that's the road they're going down. They don't even know it. I keep intending to draw these very small, but whenever I'm on camera, I struggle to draw as, like when I do thumbnails for me, I'm for real working like this big. This squiggle is about the size I'll work. But when the camera's running, I find it like impossible to do that because unconsciously I know it's just too small to show up on camera. It's like, it's easier, well, it's funny. To me, it's easier to draw big and do more detail than it is to go like this. And just zoom in the camera and keep sliding the paper around as I work. Is line compressed planes parallel to the eye? I mean, or do you consider any contrast between shapes as lines too? Real lines don't really exist, right? Lines are always shapes. If you zoom in on a line, it's always two edges with something filled in between. So lines are really like just illusions of scale, you know? And perceived lines that might be coming from compressed planes parallel to the eye. We do also see that, like, you know, if the lighting is right, as edges turn away and meet the background, it can look like there's a real line happening because shadows are getting squeezed right on that edge and so becoming more contrasty. But it's like, it's all an illusion. It's not real. You know, you're inventing them into place. You're putting them there. And yeah, even the ones that you see in graphics, like the lines that you see in a drawing, they're only lines at this distance. If I put my face right here, I can see that actually every line has a thickness and that it's subtly a secret shape. Goodbye, Renola Dominguez. T, you bet ya. T is coming. I couldn't miss my chance at T. Lines are the enemy after all, says Kyokusei. Destroy all lines. To which Jordy says lines are the only way to draw. Lines are the only way to draw. Aki says, if you get close enough, everything is an illusion. Indeed. Indeed. Steven the timer. Was that 5 minutes already? Was that already 5 minutes? One more minute, okay. No problem. Abstract says, hi, Steven. Do you think artists with a mental illness have an advantage over artists who don't in terms of making impactful art? No. No. I do not. My YouTube crashed again. There's like some sort of memory leak thing happening. Maybe with my browser? I don't know what the heck is going on there. Well, it's not crashing OBS, so stream is continuing, so I guess whatever, but that's new. I wonder why that's happening. It's tea time. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get it. I got my tea, and I had to give my son a little kiss. A little kiss. XDB Holly says, just tell me how to keep good mental health. First thing is get exercise and don't eat like crap. That's baseline for everybody. If you do that and you still are having problems, then get therapy, dog. I hate to say it, but good therapist guiding you through your personal trials and tribulations, not, just following Andrew Huberman's protocols, thinking that broad brush is going to fix your life. Yeah, had a good therapist. I've never met anyone who their mental health was truly anguishing them, where I thought they wouldn't benefit from therapy. Obviously, you need a good therapist, and yes, it costs money, but I don't know. I think it would be irresponsible of me to say anything else. But for real, you really don't know what's going on until you make sure that you're actually eating healthy food and moving around a little bit. That's the baseline. Make no evaluations until you've done that. I keep getting this error message where my messages won't send at first and I have to resend. Might be a YouTube thing. I think YouTube's all messed up today because Stream has crashed out, or YouTube has crashed out 3 times for me already today. I think something's up. Aki says, I wish my memory leaked. It sounds like a cool drawing idea. It does. Anarud says, the chat always goes from breaking down drawing fundamentals to anime girls to philosophical truths of this existence. Yeah, that's definitely the timeline around here. I've always wondered what happens when we get to, 20 hours. What are we talking about at 20 hours? Who knows what's happening in 20 hours? Kyoku says, I recently had a wild revelation after picking up a pad of bristle paper. You can cut the paper. Like you can cut it to different sizes and draw on it. Did you know this? I knew it once. It's true, you can cut it. You can also buy, at least up to the 300 series, you can buy bristle paper in a gigantic roll. That's 6 feet long and like 72 yards, 6 feet wide. I think it's 5 feet wide and like 72 yards long. I have one back there, corner of the room. You can cut that to any size you want. It comes with its own problems. You got to flatten the paper and all that. But if you want to do big drawings, that's the way to go. Yeah, I've never seen that higher than the 300 series. I've never seen a roll of 400 series. Oh wait, I was supposed to be inking these, right? All right, none other than that. I gotta not be getting into too many details anyway. It's suddenly super hot. I think the humidity just went way up. Music's too loud, sorry. Aki says, Steven, how do you fill out the paper for a really large paper? Even 14 by 17 paper is killing me sometimes. I love drawing big, but the dark areas take like half of my lifespan away. There's no getting around it. I don't know. It just takes a long time. Wish there was a shortcut, but there isn't really. I use pan pastels every now and then. But they really don't save that much time. Anything like powdered graphite, Russian grease, pan pastel, they do put down some bigger dark shapes, but it's always sloppy. You need to clean it. So it's not like it doesn't make it fast, you know? It's like if an area was gonna take you 4 hours to flatten, pan pastel might make 4 hours turn into 3 hours. Are you planning to switch the sussy stream image, or should I just send it to my dad without context? I ain't changing shit. Way too hot. Give me a minute. All right, there's probably significantly increased background noise because I had to turn my fan on, but you'll all forgive me. Aki says, what is pen pastel? Pan pastel, like a cooking pan, P-A-N, pan pastel. It's a brand name. It's just powdered pastels that you apply with like a makeup brush. They're all right. I know a lot of people prefer powdered graphite to pan pastel. I've heard that. I find powdered graphite too messy. Pan pastel is a little harder to put down, so it doesn't make as much of a mess. It's also a little low contrast as a result, which is not everybody's cup of tea. And I also prefer it because it sort of, for me, it plays well with the pencils that I like to use. Like the glossiness or lack thereof of pan pastel kind of, for me, for some reason with the pencils I put down, it makes it so that a pass of hatches over it has like a uniform gleam to it, which for me, I've always struggled with that with powdered graphite. I always get like a very annoying clashing level of glossiness with powdered graphite. It doesn't seem to play well with my pencils. Cody says, have you ever considered things like only adding noise to an image where the dark shadows are? I haven't just considered that, I've done it. Are messing with minute things like that so small no one would ever notice anyway? I mean, for commercial work, yeah, probably, but if you're trying to do fine artier things, it's always worth it to explore things like that. You know, because the degree of noise can just be another way to separate light and shadow, which is always a good idea, right? It's a form of contrast. So you can separate light and shadow by their value, by their color temperature, and then imagine if you added on top of that also their noisiness. They tried to do that in the cast drawings at Grand Central Atelier. The really high-level practitioners were they were hunting for every kind of contrast between the light and shadow. So they tried to make the, if I remember correctly, what their meta was there, they were trying to make the shadows, which might seem a little counterintuitive, but if you know their method, it makes more sense. They were trying to make the shadows less noisy, smoother, flatter, and the lights a little bit noisier. I don't know if that's still part of what they're trying to do, because when I heard them talking about that, that was goddamn near 14 years ago now. So. Ooh, that fan is really helping me out here. Feeling good now. Two Fioretto says, yo, Steven, I'm slowly working through Ray's Anatomy off of recording from this channel. I want to hit architecture next. Any personal favorites? Architecture is basically not taught in the entertainment sphere online. If you want to learn architecture, if you really want to improve your architecture, get out of concept design land and take a global history of architecture survey class at your community college or in an online architecture program or something like that. Just don't try to learn architecture from concept artists or illustrators or anything like that. That's not how you learn it. Architecture is more art history than anything else, and the history of architecture. So if you're like trying to learn the basics of architecture, you know you're in the right place if you're doing zero fucking drawing. You're just learning about the history of architecture, how the big developments occurred, why architecture was formed in different ways in different places, and all of that. There should be zero to no drawing in an introductory architecture survey, unless it's drawing floor plans. That's a good way to learn some architecture. But yeah, no cool sketching or anything like that. Get out of illustration land to learn architecture. I was lucky to, at the school that I went to, they understood this at Art Center. And the guy who taught me Architecture 1, Gary Meyer, legendary illustrator, he also understood this. So he was one of the rare people who knew how to build a fusion class. And he taught architecture, history, and gave drawing assignments that had cool sketching that went with it. But I've never seen anything like that ever again anywhere else. So don't do it. Just to take an architecture survey class. Global history of architecture survey class. And you unfortunately can't take that class with Gary anymore because he has passed away. Anna Root says, no cool drawing. How about I don't learn architecture ever in my life now? Exactly. Stuff like that doesn't sound interesting to you, and you don't have to learn everything. And you don't have to be good at everything. Just architecture is not for you. Good to go. Covering where I'm drawing. Thank you, Edwin. Safi says, so I don't have to learn everything according to that roadmap? Of course not. Most of your favorite artists, do you love them because they're good at everything? Stop and think about it. Your absolute favorite artists. Would you say that your favorite artists, they're all as good at everything as each other? They're all equally good at characters, environments, drawing animals, doing narrative pieces, doing design pieces, color. Are your favorite artists, the best artists who ever lived, are they all across the board, everything's maxed out? No. Of course not. All of your favorite artists, you say this person's amazing at this person's amazing at that, this person's amazing at that. For some reason, you hold yourself to different standards. And you think you're supposed to be good at everything. When the genetic freaks who are your favorites aren't, even though they're freaks. The best artists aren't good at everything. The best artists have a passion and a focus interest, and they have developed that to an insanely high degree, and that's enough for everyone, for them and for the audience. There is no artist who's equally good at everything. Jack Foster says, those French academics were nailing architecture, figure, drapery, color, composition. They were, but they were, their personality type would not be a painter today. You know, in the modern era, that's not the kind of person who becomes a painter. any of them alive today would be movie directors. They wouldn't spend their time making illustrations. If you look up what their lives were like and what their studios were like, you would see that it's much more akin to how a filmmaker lives their life than how anyone who makes pictures today makes their life. You know, they weren't winging off architecture, figure, drapery, color, composition. They were spending years on single paintings and hiring assistants and doing historical research, and it's just not how we make pictures today, you know? It's how we make movies today. It's not how we make pictures today. So they're kind of good and are kind of good. You know, they're colored differently historically. I don't think you can compare them directly. Discord email says, "You're my favorite drawing, Steven." Ooh, I'm a drawing. Wonderful. And I could have sworn you animated something before. I've animated very small things. Nothing on, like truly animated, like frame to frame animation. Nothing you'd find online. I've done a few little studies for myself, but yeah, I doubt you would have seen anything. I'm really more of a still picture kind of guy. That's what I've always been interested in. Gray GFX says, "So is there no point to try and create work on the level of the old masters?" That is such a good question. And one that I feel like I could, like, it's like, I'd love to, like, debate people on this. Some key people, certain people. So the shallow answer that I want to give is there no point to create work on the level of the old masters? My shallow answer is, yeah, there isn't. There is no point. I love the old masters, and I think that the way that I draw is me putting my money where my mouth is, right? Like I adore good old-fashioned draftsmanship, and I've spent my life trying to develop it. So I'm not saying that in any dismissive kind of a way, but truly, yeah, I don't think there's any point. I think people don't take seriously that you are a product of your historical context, right? And this is why in the YouTube videos, I'm constantly trying to turn people on to the importance of the conditioning factors. It's like, you really have no idea until you've had sort of an explosive experience with them, just how controlled you are by them. And you cannot make the work of the old masters without being an old master and being in that historical context. I really don't think you can. The deeper answer is that they can't make the work you could make either. You have the opportunity in this historical context. It's like people get so backwards facing, they forget that we have the opportunity now to make work that the old masters, if they saw it, they'd say, fuck, that's what I want to do. You can exceed them in many ways. So I think the conversation is actually sort of two ways. You know, we want to be informed and inspired by the old master, but I think that we should also have our braggadocio rap god persona upon us and remind ourselves that we could do things that would excite Michelangelo. You know, we can. It is possible. Now, is anybody doing that? Only me, right? And that's a shame. But more people could be if they were smart. But so far, it's only me. I'm the only person Michelangelo is looking down on with a big smile. Kyokusei says, sometimes I like telling myself that what I'm doing is at the cutting edge of art history. Even if it isn't verifiable, it can sure feel like it is. It can sure feel that way. And that's all that matters in the end. At least for us. For the person holding the brush, that's all that matters. That is, in a sense, the best you could do. Is to make sure it feels that way. Jack Foster says, it's such a shame. We have Michelangelo's paintings and his drawings, which are mostly studies for the paintings. Would love to have his real personal work, like what he would have drawn with a modern moleskin mechanical pencil and no clients. Well, he probably wouldn't have drawn. He was a sculptor first. He always thought of himself as a sculptor. I think if you want to see his real personal spirit, the sculptures are your gateway to that, not the drawings. It's crazy that someone who is so personally attuned to sculpture was also so capable with the illusionistic aspects of drawing. That is very, very, very rare. Those things are, for most people these days, that's like the antipodes that decide whether you're a sculptor or you're a draftsperson. It's like, can you stomach making an illusion every time that you work? If you can stomach it, you tend to go drawing. If you like it, you're definitely drawing. And if it just feels like an extra burden, you tend to become people tend to become sculptors. Very, very rare to see someone who is sculpture first And they actually totally jive with the illusion too. I mean, it's like barely ever happens. You know, Michelangelo was that. It's fucking crazy. Lackasm says Michelangelo probably would work at Naughty Dog. No, you couldn't be Michelangelo doing that. You see, a key part of being Michelangelo is that you need to believe you work for God. That's another important part of the historical conditioning factors. Another thing that makes it very hard for anyone today to even play in the same playground as the old masters, you know? You've got to remember, these were... In this time, the history was, the historical context was, you know, primed to make them, you know, conduits for something greater, for shamans. The great artists of today, they don't have that. Unless they have done the work of creating something greater for themselves. Yeah, the best thing they can aspire to is making cute costumes for gacha games. So, no, Michelangelo wouldn't work at Naughty Dog. He couldn't. He wouldn't be Michelangelo. You need a greater drive than that to become that. Lax says, Steven, speaking of historical context, how do you tie culture with design? I'm not sure I understand. Do you mean like how do you do a design that's like from a culture? Like it's based on Mexican something or Indian something, things like that? Is that what you mean? What's the music? Currently it is the Divinity Original Sin 2 soundtrack. Hell of a name for a game, Divinity Original Sin 2. It's like, if it's 2, is it still original? Is it still the original sin? We didn't resolve the original sin in the first one? Abstract says, Steven, I've gotten traction for landscape painting, but it's not what I want to do. When I post the art I want to do, dark fantasy, it doesn't get traction. Should I focus on the landscape since it works? It depends on what your foreground is right now. If your foreground is getting hired, if it's getting work, yes, go focus on the landscape painting. It might mean, I would have to see the work and talk to you more to know, but it might be that you have a knack for landscapes. A knack in this capacity is an aspect of art that a person excels in easily. And one of the classic indicators that we're dealing with someone's knack is that other people react to it in their work, and to them, they consider it like beneath their notice. And they're always like kind of surprised that people like that. And that makes sense when you see it as a knack. It's like because it comes easily to them, it doesn't have the energetic charge that we're so used to in art, which is like feeling challenged, feeling like you need to improve at this. Like the knack skips all these things because it all just goes swimmingly. So you may have a knack for landscapes. If you're trying to get work and that's the number one most important thing in your life, just lean into the knack because that's going to be the fastest way to get there. Beyond that, don't fucking post it. Because if it's not what you want to do, you're only going to make problems for yourself by sharing it and getting known for it. It's like if you know you really don't care about it and the dark fantasy is what you want to care about, the best thing to do is just, can you incorporate more landscape into the dark fantasy stuff? Can you blend them? Because that would boost the dark fantasy stuff. But short of that, putting that possibility aside, don't share it. You're gonna build an audience that is not the audience that you want, and eventually it's gonna drive you crazy when it comes to doing the thing that you really want to do. So yeah, classic conflict of what do you really want to do and money there. Lack says to clarify, like how German armor differed from Italian armor because of beauty standards, or how the orcs from Lord of the Rings look asymmetrical to emphasize their perversions of elves and are unnatural. Oh, so that's just especially the German Italian thing. That's a true cultural thing. But when you take it into something like the orc and elf thing, it's just the cultural part of world building. So I don't know. To me, that's actually more just writing stuff. Like at its core, that's always more writing than it is drawing. You may discover that idea while doing sketches, but that's just reversing the process temporarily. It just means that you bumped into the idea visually, but you're always going to codify it as a written concept, right? Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what direction you go in. It doesn't matter if you're in a Word doc and you write, Italian and German armor were different because of these beauty standards, right? And well, okay, let's do the, let's make it up, right? Corinthi. I'm trying to think of a fake word, but I have baby brain right now. Forget what I was gonna do. Stick with the example that I was on. German and Italian armor are different for this reason. You're typing it out. Or you're in your sketchbook, you draw a really different looking Italian armor and a really different looking German armor, and you say to yourself, oh, they look so different because of different beauty standards. You just went right back to a writing concept. It doesn't matter which came first. So it's tied up with world building and more writing considerations. And as I've said many times on here, I think most artists would benefit from doing more writing, just being comfortable with that. Johnson Artman says, hi, Stephen. I recently created a dream project of mine that is based off the 10 Dream Pictures idea, and it worked perfectly. Thanks. No problem, baby. My pleasure. Happy to help. Okay, I think I'm gonna stay on for 10 more minutes. Because I do want to go relieve my mother and spend some time with her before she has to head out for the day. She's been taking care of baby for a long while now. So 10 more minutes. If you have more questions, throw them in there. If there's been any questions that I've missed, you want to ask them again, I'll do what I can. Ozzo says, Stephen, did the subject of your art change along the years, or were you always into buff figures and creatures? Also form. No, it changed, and it'll change again. I have no doubt of that. I mean, it's nice to think that you're going to keep changing, right? Isn't that good? That there's still new and exciting discoveries coming in life. That it's not just going to be the same thing over and over again. I think that's nice. Gorbard says, Stephen, how do you balance health with art? Do you make sure to get 8 hours of sleep every night and be decently active? Or would that take away from creating art? I do, yeah, I do both of those things. Not right now, because I've got a newborn. That process is not running very well at the moment, but it will come back online. But yeah, I've always been good sleeper. I'm very lucky that I've never suffered from a lot of insomnia like a lot of artists do. I've been off the nocturnal kick that a lot of artists get on for a long time. You know, my wife helped me with that. You know, if you want to fix your nocturnal tendencies, live with someone who's a morning person and likes to do dishes loudly first thing in the morning. You'll be a morning person fast. Yeah, I'm not some gym rat or anything like that, but I've always enjoyed exercising, running and jogging. That's been my go-to for many, many years, and I've always done it regularly. I think it's very important. And do you balance it with art? It's like, I don't know if you balance it. It's just like, the art comes from a body. You need to take care of the body. You know, so I don't know. I think, you know, things are going to shift. You know when your priorities are shifting. I just said that my priorities have to temporarily shift because I have a newborn. But, you know, I think a lot of the time you do need to not be up your own ass, and you need to prioritize, like, all right, no art's going to get made if I'm sick and depressed and, you know, slothful because, you know, my body's falling apart. You've got to eat good food as much as possible. sleep well, get exercise, for sure. That's going to help the art in the end. And again, it doesn't mean be a gym rat, I don't think. A lot of artists tend to like that because it sort of triggers for them, it triggers some of the same things as art, you know, the improvement arc. I don't really get that. So, with exercises. So it doesn't need to be that, but yeah, it's a very sedentary lifestyle. You need to make sure you don't keel over from a heart attack at 40. Steven, what has been one of the best parts of being an artist for you? Oh, fuck. I mean, an embarrassment of answers for that. Let's see. What would I say today? It's really great to... It depends how you do art, right? Because there's all sorts of different roads. But the truth is that you can fight to make your practice whatever you want, right? So I've felt very lucky to be able to engage in that fight and to try to make the practice that I want and to make some unusual decisions. And the way that I set it up, it has been wonderful to arrange my life so that I have so much time to think about the things that I care about the most. You know, like I would go crazy if I didn't have the mental bandwidth and the sheer amount of hours that I've had to basically philosophize visually. You know, that's really what so much of my practice is like investigating the nature of existence and what I think is going on here through art, you know, in my own personal way. And to just have had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours to pursue that, and to varying degrees, you know, in a completely self-directed way where there's really no one controlling me, has just been incredible. Most people never get to experience that. You know, I feel very lucky, extremely lucky, that for however long it lasts or whatever, I can say that I can say that through art I experienced complete freedom for some time, which is actually something that a lot of people, you know, they go their whole lives, they'll never feel that. You know, they'll never know that feeling. So I feel incredibly lucky for that. You know, just I make my own life my own way, and I can think and pursue the things that I want, and there's no axe over my head, and I didn't just have the chance, I did it. You know, I just got to live my life in a very, very odd, very, very personal way. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself and about others, things I never would have learned elsewise. It's just been beautiful. You know, it's been, only art could have given me that, you know, only art. Aki says, I have a technical question. Any advice for handling foliage and grass in pencil? I'm near the end of my time here, so this could be a big answer, but to shorthand, it's just like group everything first, you know? Don't look at grass, even if you look at what you might consider a perfectly uniform patch of grass, that is to say, like a lawn, you know, not everywhere has lawns, but in the United States, lawns are really big, right? If you look at somebody's lawn of just short grass, which they're doing their best to make it a uniform patch of green, it is impossible for it to be a uniform patch of green. If you actually look at the whole thing, there's stripes of darker here, lighter here, a splotch of lighter here, a splotch of darker there. If you're dealing in color, that would also include temperature changes. It's cooler here, warmer there, hue changes. It's yellower here, green there. Within the greens, there's a cooler green area, there's a warmer green area. So you think in those groups first, and you design those groups, and then you go in and pick key areas, and you do a few blades of grass. You're not going to avoid doing some blades. You do some blades of grass in key contrast areas, and that'll give the illusion of detail for everything else. Same with leaves. You know, leaves are really, you deal with the clump of foliage, then the little family of leaves. You know, leaves are hardly ever on their own. They're usually in like a little family of like 3 or 4 that are coming off of a particular twig or branch together. You know, so you do them as like the community, you know, the bigger clump of leaves, you know, probably a few hundred leaves, clumps of the little families, then, you know, clumps of like 3 to 5 leaves, and then individual leaves, and you only draw a couple of those individual leaves. Yeah. You can learn a lot of this by just looking at a tree for a long time with your eyes squinted, just watching it blow in the wind and stuff like that. See what clumps move, what the value changes are between them. But yeah, foliage and grass, that's the way. You do the big groupings first. You save the details for key areas near the contrasty focal points, and you don't do the rest, you know. Maya Mercury says, hi, Stephen. Yesterday I made a wide, kind orc man with horns and a giant beard. Excellent. Lax says, serious question has been living in the back of my mind for days. How do you deal with art versus craft? Well, I think in our little niche, they're married, right? But in other niches, there's a lot of academic debate between art and craft, you know. There's plenty of sectors of art that would say that, you know, what I do isn't art, right? That I'm just doing a craft. So, you know, it depends what lens you're looking through. But if you're in this illustration-y, entertainment design, happy-pappy drawing world, I think it's okay to accept that this is your niche, and in this niche, art and craft are pretty well married, you know? It's like, you're gonna, in this niche, if you just up your craft and don't up your artistry with a capital A, most of the audience is going to interpret the increase in craft as an increase in artistry anyway. So it doesn't matter, right? Like, you're good to go here. If you have bigger concerns, if you're getting out of your lane, you know, if you're playing with, well, how much of a fine artist am I? How much of an academic am I? How much of a philosopher am I? Then yes, art and craft start to diverge quite crazily, right? But, you know, I don't think anyone should get obsessed with that unless it's fun for them. I think about it because it's fun for me. It doesn't bum me out, you know? Like, I feel like I understand what's going on, and I don't get bent out of shape that I know that there's people much smarter than me who have great arguments for why what I do isn't art. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. So because I don't care, I can just have fun. You know, it's just fun for me to investigate those ideas and learn from them. If it bothers you, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just love your craft. The artistry will follow, you know. Discord email says, Steven, could you re-explain the 10 dream pictures thing again? Also, hello, Grant. I know someone was in here talking about that before, but I couldn't tell you what explanation in the past that I've given was the one they were referencing. I couldn't tell you because I push people towards the dream pictures all sorts of different ways. So yeah, full honesty, the person who mentioned the 10 dream pictures thing, they could tell you better than I could. You know, I've given a version of it that's 50, I've given a version of it that's 10, I've given a version of it that's 5, right? And I don't know if they're talking about like the whiteboard exercise or if they're talking about the challenge of just do 100 pictures you care about before you die, you know? If it's the whiteboard exercise, I usually, the numbers shift, you know, because the numbers are kind of arbitrary, right? But make a folder where you put 50-ish pictures that you would like to make. No pictures you respect in the folder. We all have art we respect, but we need to be able to make the distinction between art we respect, that we know is good and we're fans of, but we have no interest in fucking making art like that, right? Like, there's a lot of very cute art that I really respect, that I think is done on a super high level. I have no interest in making art like that, right? So 50 pictures, that's all art that you want to, that you would like, you would feel good if you made it. You want to make, you're interested in making art like that, in working in that way, insofar as you understand it. From the 50, you're going to boil it down to, maybe it's 10, but I think I usually say it as 5, which is even more brutal. You're going to go from 50 to 5 pictures. Let's say 5 or 10, whatever feels comfortable to you. Like I said, the numbers are arbitrary, right? 50 to 10, that these 10 pictures, you feel that these 10 pictures, there is nothing missing in them that you wish was part of your practice, right? So let's say you know dynamic expressions or whatever have to be part of your practice. It's your favorite thing. You love dynamic expressions. That's like the main thing that you want your art to have. No pictures in the top 10 that don't have dynamic expressions. It has to be in every picture. This is a very hard task. It should anguish you, and it should take days to do. It's not easy. Even though there's no drawing or anything like that, it's very hard work, and you should be near in tears at points. It should anguish you to make these cuts, to make these edits. You should learn things about yourself as you edit down to the 10. You should be very disappointed to find that certain pictures that you really loved and were touchstones for you are actually not going to make the cut in this harder paradigm. You get it down to 5 to 10 pictures that you're just like, this is it. If I could do this, I don't feel like anything's missing. Like if I could do one of these pictures, I would be perfectly content, happy as an artist. I wouldn't feel like there's something extra that I need to add. And then, that's very hard work, and it's an achievement to just get to that set of pictures, right, of other people's work. Then this becomes a very useful tool, which is you can just open the folder and look at the 5 to 10, and looking at thumbnail size, right, of the 5 to 10, just in a flash, imagine an 11th. And when you imagine that 11th picture in a flash, go make that picture. That imagined 11th picture that feels like it would fit in with these highly scrutinized, brutally chosen 10, that 11th picture is most likely a picture worth making. You know, especially if you've freshly done the exercise, because you've been really thinking about everything that you want in your work and what matters to you and what doesn't matter to you. It'll teach you a lot about what doesn't matter to you. When I did this exercise for myself many years ago, I was amazed and heartbroken and awestruck to find that in my, whatever the final number was, I forget if I did it with 5 or 10, there was almost no color in them. And up until that point, I'd been living under the kinds of delusions that I work so hard to deprogram on this channel. I thought a badass artist is great at color, so I have to care about color and I must be great at color. Blah, 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 blah. And when I actually, instead of sitting there and being a bullshitter, just sat and did some amount of work to figure out what the fuck I wanted out of art, wouldn't you know it, none of the pictures that really were my touchstones had great color. They were highly desaturated. If they had color, it was very, very desaturated color. No crazy impressionistic paintings, no beautiful, Nathan Folks landscapes with just like delicious, gorgeous saturated color. It turns out those were pictures I respected, but actually not actually a big part of what I want to do. Amazing. So then guess what? Then I got to focus on the things I actually wanted to be good at, and I stopped caring so much about color for a long time, and I was much happier for it. I stopped carrying around this unnecessary burden of thinking that I needed to be Child Hassam or something like that. It was like, I don't know, it was a huge day for me. It was like a big thing, a big veil that fell from my eyes. So it'll teach you a lot about what you want in art, and it'll also amaze you with what it turns out. Oh, I actually don't care that much about this as I thought. The pictures that really matter to me are all, you might find out they're all ink drawings. That's really the only thing you really care about. Just trust that and focus on that. All right, everybody. With that, I'm over time, and I'm going to head out. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for joining me on the first stream since I began my path to fatherhood. I hope that was actually the dream picture explanation that person was looking for. Because the dream pictures do cross over with a lot of things, and I've talked about them many, many, many ways. Thank you for hanging out, everybody. Good luck with all your projects, of course. Do remember that the design course, Design Fundamentals, is out. Check that out if you're interested. The link is in the description. I'm already seeing a lot of very cool projects over there in the feedback that I'm giving. People are doing a lot of cool stuff. Very gratified to see that it's working. We're having the design breakthroughs that I was hoping for. The insights, the eurekas, the increases in understanding. Once people get further along in their projects, I'll be sure to share some of it with you all so you can see it, the cool stuff that they make. I'm glad to see that the writing portions of the assignments are working as well. People's first MVPs and thematic treatments and stuff like that. I think people are doing a really good job with them. And it's clicking with them. The things that I hoped people would learn from that, it's really clicking with them. You probably need to do this every once in a while as you discover more. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Your taste is always changing. Yeah, you could do that exercise over and over and over again. I've done it a couple times. It's been a long time since I did it. I probably could use it again. You could do it for every project, actually, yes. That then becomes, you know, very elaborate mood boarding. The version I'm talking about here is definitely more like an overall, like, it works best for people who just feel completely lost, you know? It's a very good orienting practice for people who, you know, the kinds of people who, if I sat you down across the table from me, I said, what do you want from art? If that question would just completely stump you, then you're probably a good candidate for that exercise. You know, it's a very good initial orienting practice for people who just have found themselves doing art, but really couldn't tell you why, you know, which is a surprisingly high number of people who do art. The demon has them and they can barely tell you why, how they got here. Zapatian, Zapatan, Zapatanistas. Thank you, Lack. Alonzo says beautiful sketches. Wow, thank you. It's good to be possessed from time to time. Indeed, indeed. All right. I got caught up sketching, but I'm actually going to go now. It's very rude for me to say, hey, I've got to go spend time with my mom. And then I'm like, drawing sketchy lines, leaving my mom out there. All right. Oh, Dave Raposa also started his live stream. It's an unusual time for Dave to be streaming. I wish like on Twitch I could raid people on YouTube. Oh yeah, he is streaming. Yeah, too bad you can't raid people on YouTube, or I'd shoot you all over to Dave's stream. Well, he's been going for an hour already. Anyway, if you're in the market for more drawing stream, Dave Raposa's stream is live right now. Go check out his. Tell him Steven sent you. And I'm gonna go. Take care, everybody. Happy drawing. Good luck with all your projects. I'm going to go take care of my newborn, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Oh, and of course, thanks to the patrons, and thanks for everybody who donated today. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye, everyone. Wait, can I... For anyone who does want to go to Dave's stream, will a link here go? I think so. I think you can click that if you want to go to Dave's stream. All right, bye, everybody.